You hear the lion before you see anything. A low vibration rolls through the dark and enters your chest. Your fire is shrinking. What is watching you beyond the last circle of orange light? For most of human history, night was not an empty pause between useful days. Night was a landscape with teeth. Your ancestors could not lock a door, switch on a floodlight, or call for help from miles away. They had bodies built for daylight and predators built for darkness. So how did anyone sleep long enough to survive? Your eyes reveal the first problem. Human vision is impressive in bright light, but it cannot match the night vision of a leopard, lion, or hyena. Your nose is weaker than a carnivore's nose. Your ears can detect a branch snapping, but they cannot tell you exactly what made it snap. Once darkness covers the ground, every bush becomes a hiding place. How certain can any quiet minute feel? Sleep makes that uncertainty worse. Your muscles relax, your attention turns inward, your reaction time disappears until something wakes you. A sleeping human on open ground is warm, slow, and almost defenseless. Why would natural selection allow such a vulnerable animal to spend so many hours unconscious? The answer was never one perfect defense. It was a stack of imperfect defenses working together. Fire, position, numbers, noise, tools, and different sleep schedules. Could several weak defenses become one strong system? Fire was the most dramatic layer. At Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, archaeologist Francesco Berna and his colleagues found burned bone and plant ash in sediments about 1 million years old. The traces lay deep inside the cave, where an ordinary grass fire was unlikely to reach. This does not prove that every ancient camp had a carefully maintained hearth, but it shows that early members of the human family were bringing fire into living spaces astonishingly early. What did that flame change? It changed what a predator saw. Most large carnivores had spent millions of years learning that uncontrolled fire meant danger. A maintained flame created heat, movement, smoke, sparks, and unfamiliar human activity in one concentrated zone. It also let your ancestors see outward farther than darkness would normally allow. What would a predator make of shining eyes, raised voices, and moving flames? Richard Wrangham has argued that control of fire transformed human life far beyond cooking. Fire made food softer and easier to digest, but it also made the ground a more practical place to gather after sunset. Other primates often sleep in trees, where height can reduce some risks. Your ancestors increasingly built their lives on the ground. Could fire have helped make ground sleep survivable? The flame still had limits. Hungry lions do not obey a magical boundary. Hyenas can investigate strange objects. Wind can push smoke away from the direction that needs protection most. Rain can weaken the fire, and damp wood can refuse to catch. What happens when your best defense is only a pile of glowing branches? You protect the pile. Someone adds wood before the embers collapse. Someone notices when sparks drift into dry grass. Someone listens when the surrounding insects suddenly go quiet. The work does not need to belong to one heroic guard for the entire night. Could vigilance emerge from many people waking and sleeping at different times? David Sampson, Alyssa Crittenden, and their colleagues tested this idea among Hadza hunter-gatherers in Tanzania. They used wrist activity monitors to examine nighttime movement in a group whose sleep was not controlled by electric lighting or factory schedules. Across 20 nights, moments when everyone appeared to be asleep at the same time were extremely rare. Older people tended to rise earlier, while younger people often stayed awake later. Could ordinary differences between bodies become a shared security system? Researchers call this the sentinel hypothesis. A sentinel is simply someone who is awake while others are vulnerable. One person turns over, another checks a child, an elder wakes before dawn while a younger adult remains awake beside the fire after others become quiet. Could the group produce vigilance without requiring one person to lose an entire night of sleep? That pattern matters because ancient camps probably contained people of many ages. Infants woke often, parents responded to them, injured people slept badly, and elders may have rested at different hours from adolescence. Those differences look inconvenient inside a modern house where silence is treated as perfect sleep. Could the same differences have kept a prehistoric camp from becoming completely unattended? Another study complicates the popular picture of effortless ancestral sleep. Gandhi Yetish, Jerome Siegel, and their colleagues measured sleep among the Hadza, the San of southern Africa, and the Simane of Bolivia. People generally did not fall asleep the moment the sun disappeared. Sleep began several hours after sunset and was strongly connected to changes in temperature. Average sleep time was not a luxurious stretch of 10 uninterrupted hours. Why would your ancestors remain awake after dark? Part of the answer may have been practical. Food still needed attention, tools could be repaired, children needed soothing, and the fire needed fuel. Darkness also created something rare during the day. What becomes possible when immediate work finally slows down? Anthropologist Polly Wiesner studied evening conversations among Juhonski communities in southern Africa. Her research found that talk around the fire shifted away from the economic business that dominated daylight. Night conversations contained more stories, songs, memories, distant people, and imagined worlds. Firelight did not merely hold predators back. What else did it create inside the circle? That social energy could also improve safety. A camp filled with voices, laughter, movement, and crackling wood announces that many alert humans occupy the space. Predators prefer easy opportunities. A noisy cluster holding stones, spears, and burning branches is not an easy opportunity. Could stories that entertained your ancestors also help protect the camp? Now reconstruct one night. You are lying on a bed of dry grass and animal hides. The ground still holds a little heat from the day, but colder air is draining into the low places. Several bodies lie close enough that you can hear breathing. A child sleeps against an adult's side, who remains awake when everyone else begins to drift. An elder sits near the coals, knees raised, turning a blackened branch with a stick. The camp is not random. A rock face, cave wall, or dense patch of vegetation protects one direction. The fire protects another. Spears and heavy clubs remain within reach. Is this comfort, or is it architecture built from almost nothing? Meat scraps and bones are not scattered through the sleeping area if your group can avoid it. The smell could invite scavengers. Then a sound rises beyond the light. Not a roar. Who moves first after the short cough? Every body does not leap up. That would waste energy and create confusion. One person lifts a head. Another reaches toward a spear. The elder feeds a branch into the coals, and sparks climb into the dark. How much safety can one widening circle of orange light provide? Two reflective points appear between the grass stems. They remain still. Your group's voices become sharper. A burning stick is raised. Stones may be thrown toward the eyes. Not because a stone guarantees a kill, but because surprise, pain, flame, and many upright bodies can change a predator's calculation. Would that be enough? The eyes disappear. Nobody knows whether the animal has truly left. Sleep returns slowly. A few people whisper. Someone stays upright longer than before. Who takes the invisible watch when that person finally lies down? This is the counterintuitive part. Ancient survival at night was probably not based on sleeping perfectly. It was based on sleeping imperfectly together. Restless children, light sleepers, older adults, and late-night storytellers could all add gaps to the darkness. Could what looks like disorder have been the system? The strongest protection was not fire alone. It was not a spear alone. It was not a cave alone. The strongest protection was a group that never became completely absent from its own surroundings. Was human weakness during sleep answered by human variation? Later, dogs added another alarm system in some camps. Their hearing and smell could detect movement before human senses did, and their barking could wake an entire group. But people survived dangerous nights long before dogs became dependable companions. Could flame, cooperation, memory, and warning voices have been enough? That history still sits inside your night. A sudden noise can wake you before you understand it. An unfamiliar room can keep part of your attention near the surface. A baby's cry can cut through sleep more effectively than distant traffic. Does your brain still treat unconsciousness as something less than total surrender? Modern sleep advice often imagines an isolated individual in a silent, sealed room. Ancient sleep was likely warmer, louder, smokier, more social, and more interrupted. Parasites bit, smoke irritated lungs, and cold entered bedding. Would such nights really have been healthier or more peaceful? Predators sometimes crossed the boundary anyway. The system was built under pressure, and it sometimes failed. Danger did not improve sleep. Safety was simply shared. Why romanticize a solution created by necessity? Your ancestors did not need every person to be equally alert at the same hour. They needed differences that overlapped. One person's late night met another person's early morning. The group covered the vulnerable space between them. Could survival depend on people failing to sleep in exactly the same way? Today, a locked door, electric light, and solid walls perform much of that work. The fire has become a lamp. The listening elder has become an alarm. The ring of sleeping bodies has become architecture. Why does the feeling of safety still change how deeply you rest? You sleep best when your body believes someone or something is holding the boundary. That boundary can be a wall, a familiar voice, a nearby partner, a dog at the foot of the bed, or the quiet knowledge that help is close. Your nervous system does not only ask whether you are tired, does it also ask whether you are protected? You hear the lion before you see anything. The darkness is still watching. The reason you survive the night is not that you never fall asleep. It is that, for hundreds of thousands of years, you were never sleeping alone.